Kings and queens, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. It is time again, our annual interview with two awesome people, my co-host Paulie and the man, the myth, the legend, Mathieu Cote. These two guys essentially built my career, and today we're gonna have a nice, good old chat. How are we doing, guys?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to this. Matthew says he's only got a limited amount of time. Let's get right into it.
I'm having a good day. I'm having a good day today.
Perfect.
So
we'll
let's
be able
not
to
screw it up,
squeeze you for
please.
some extra stuff. Well, yeah, that was the first question. How are you doing today? So glad you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. How was your day? What did you do today in as broad detail as possible?
Is there anything I can talk about? not really. I can talk
Not
about.
even your lunch?
No, I can. What did I have for lunch? I went to A&W today. Is that it?
Oh yeah, A&W's good. I had a lot of A&W.
Chubby chicken burger was decent. It's not my favorite, but it's all right.
You could do worse. You could do worse.
Yeah.
But
they have good Red Bull slushies.
Let's say generally I spend my days split between dealing with the licenses that we want to have in the future, some that we are currently developing, some that we are currently discussing, and then the other half is with the external projects. So whether it's the stuff that we have coming up with Supermassive, whether it's Island of Insights, which we've talked about a little bit, and the playtest has happened in the last few weeks, or whether it's other projects that we are considering either publishing or promoting from the inside. So
Played that.
yes.
Island of Insights.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I think whenever Dead by Daylight makes me mad, I'm gonna just like force myself to play some Island of Insights.
It's kind of nice and chill.
It's so serene, and it makes me feel like a genius. And I'm like,
there you go.
Great.
Perfect.
I was about to say that, but that's it. And if you are an actual genius, you can play other puzzles, which will make you feel like a genius. Like, I don't know which ones you play, but I find some that are just right for me. Right. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I was doing today.
Pretty awesome. I mean, that's kind of like our first question anyways. I've been asked, well, the first one was supposed to be like, what is your actual job? I know your title has changed throughout the days, and everyone always, the comments, and the reason why this is mainly here is because every year people are like, why didn't you ask him to buff Killer? And I'm like,
yeah,
guys, come on.
I don't do that. And
exactly.
Yes, it's true. Like in the last 7, oh my God, it's been 7 years now, 8 years.
Crazy.
It's changed a lot, right? At the beginning, I was obviously the producer on Dead by Daylight until we shipped. Then I turned into more of a game director role, which was about the long-term vision of the project and about being the voice and face of the project. And even that in the last few years has changed a little bit. Now as head of partnerships, which I think has been my official title for the last 2 years, most of my time is spent I'm sort of zoomed out a little more, right? In my day-to-day, I don't deal with specific bugs or specific design balance issues. We used to be 30 people when we shipped. There's 300 and change now, like 320 people, I think, on the day-to-day working on Dead by Daylight. So there's a big design team, a big art team, a big product team that are doing just that, making sure that the game is better, that the game is getting new content all the time. So I work more on what's going to happen in a year or 2 from now most of the time, right?
Fair. I mean, that's always something. You're always in the future, as you say. Like, where are you now? You're like in 2026 all the way up there.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's also frustrating because it means the most of what I do that's super fun, like if I have something that's really exciting that happened today, I can't talk to anyone about it. And I won't be able to talk about it for the next, I don't know.
We're all friends here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we can just
a casual chat.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, man. You want to go ahead and take the next one, Paulie? I think there was a question you've been wanting to ask him. You know, you messaged me the other day, and you're like, we got to ask him this one.
So I don't know if you saw this about Evil Dead has announced that they aren't going to continue making any content
I did
for
see
that game. And so there was a theory out there on Twitter that said that someone said that they were slowly believing that you had sold your soul to the devil so that every other asymmetrical game, yeah, you personally,
just you, Big boss.
You sold your soul to the devil so that every other asymmetrical game that isn't Dead by Daylight dies in under 2 years. Can you confirm whether or not that is
well? If I had made a deal with a devil for my soul, I've only one of those, right? I haven't figured out a way to sell other people's souls yet.
Yet.
I would have asked for a little more than that.
I suppose,
Yeah.
A more selfish thing. You'd go like Tom Brady selling his soul like that route, right?
I don't know. I guess so. Yeah. Like, yeah. But no, so I didn't do that. And honestly, I root for the people who make those games, right?
That was going to be my follow-up.
Developers,
100%.
and you hope for the best. Now, as a gamer also, I want greater games in there. And it's true that Dead by Daylight has managed to do something that had not really been done before, at least not in that way or that successfully. But it doesn't mean that nobody else will ever be able to do. And I don't think that that would be a good thing either, right? The same like the first-person shooter that was done was great, but then others came after and managed to do it better, or others just tried things that failed. And since asymmetrical multiplayer is so stupidly difficult to make, that to make it right and to have it be fun, and especially it can be fun. Like I remember playing Evolve before DBD launched, and it was an awesome game. It was beautiful, it was super polished, and you played a couple of times and you're like, okay, now I'll go play something else. And I'm not exactly sure why, but somehow we managed to do something in DBD that made it so that it's the more stuff we add, the more it adds to that sort of element of uncertainty, which I believe is such an important part of the fun, the pure fun of DBD. You're not exactly sure where you're going to go or who you're going to be up against and who you're going to face.
Yeah, it's true.
And the more stuff we add, even though obviously not all the killers are going to be the best killer. They can't. By definition, they cannot be. Like, we release a new one, it's awesome. We release a new one, it's awesome, but it's different. And then another one and another one, which means that when you play, you get a killer, you're like, nah, not this one. Every time, for different reasons. And that's great.
Yeah, it's, I think wholeheartedly believe that the roster that Dead by Daylight was able to build while all the other games came and went is the strength of its game, is
for sure.
Having that large rogues gallery to fall back on. So,
and I think that that's probably a problem for most games that have a license attached, right? If you take Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is a super fun game, or even Evil Dead or Friday the 13th, the basic problem with that proposition is that it is a very, very limited setup, right? You're not going to be able to create new maps every other month. You're not going to be able to add new characters all the time because it is a finite universe that's already created, and the license holders, for the most part, are not interested in creating more stuff in there. So it's sort of very limiting. It's also, it's powerful. It's a powerful marketing tool to be able to say, I'm the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, right? It opens a lot of doors, but it's also extremely limiting in the long run.
Gotcha.
It's fair. And I mean, same vice versa too. I think one of the best things that you guys do, and a lot of people credit to a lot more of the success, is how quickly you guys were able to pick up a license like Halloween almost immediately out of the gate, you know? So with these original titles that do come out, sometimes the cards just don't fall in their balance as well to get something like that to propel them, you know? Everything just seemed to work so perfectly for DBD.
I wish I could take credit I think there was quite a lot of luck involved. There was a lot of, it's sort of a perfect storm, right? Behavior
Yeah.
was a company that had been working for, at the time, about 25 years, making games for other people. So we had a lot of contact in the licensing world. Other developers knew us, especially people in Hollywood, because we made games for Disney, we made games for a lot of other license holders. So we weren't that far from those license holders. Like we could call up people and go, "Do you know the guy who owns that?" And like we already had a few contacts in there with people who respected us because of the 25 years history of us doing quality stuff. And that helped quite a lot. But it's true, like being able to, well, and not only being able to secure the Halloween license early on like this, but being able to deliver on it really quickly, which, to be fair, is not something that we're able to do anymore. Like literally, it takes us between 9 and 12 months to develop a chapter nowadays, which wasn't the case at the time. But if you look at the quality of what we've done with the Nostromo, for instance, the new map and the details and the attention to those Easter eggs and all of these things, I mean, that's what you get for spending 9 to 12 months on a new chapter.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, it shows in the work. And I think that's a perfect segue to the next question that we have. It's how long do these like DLCs take and are planned out? Let's say it is a licensed chapter, you know, hypothetically, whatever it is, from the time where the contract is signed and you guys are like, all right, this is coming, to it actually hitting live servers. How long does that typically take?
I'd say between 9 and 12 months is the average.
9 and 12 months. It
can't be shorter than 9 months for sure. And
so the same if it's licensed or original, you would say?
It's about the same. There are delays on both instances, but they're different. And most of the time, the people we work with are sort of savvy. Like if you work with Disney, for instance, for Alien, they know how to make games. They've dealt with that. They have many other games featuring the xenomorph already in production or just shipped. Like they knew what we were about, so it was really easy to talk to them and follow their processes and ours. In other instances, we would be dealing with people who had, let's say, less knowledge of actual video games. But because, well, no, it's true. Like in some instances,
I remember.
Deal with license holders.
You had told me before. Yeah,
we don't know as much. But the thing is, because of that long history of behavior of doing that kind of thing, I think we like, and even me personally, that's one of the things that I know how to do. Right, finding the right sort of channels of communication, understanding what is important for you to know and when, and what is going to take you a long time to respond to, and what is going to be quick, so that we can actually, like, I made a long document that I shared with people on my team about the different things of importance for different licensors. Like some of them will want to know this, and some of them will not care about this, but they'll want to know about this, and this might be a sticking point. So let's make sure that we figure that one at the very, very beginning, so that we can focus on other things. It's been quite a learning experience for me, for sure. I sort of specialize in something that I mean, I'm sure other people do it. I've met a couple of specific license people over the last few years, but nobody, at least at Behavior, was doing that.
So to follow up with you saying having such a great relationship with Disney, I mean, I guess King and I, we saw that firsthand when we saw the giant Sully and Mike Wazowski statue in the Behavior offices, right?
Yeah.
So,
and they're kind of old.
Yeah, they're looking at they need a little refurbish there. They need the lady who came and redid the paint, the Da Vinci painting, to come in and redo it or whatever.
Exactly.
But so as you know, we do speculation about what we think is coming next, and when we would make specific videos talking about Alien, for example, people would give us a lot of pushback. Said Dead by Daylight is never going to get Alien. Disney is too particular about who they are going to work with. DBD is too small a studio. They want nothing to do with them. That is never going to happen.
Well, you
And
sure showed them.
So I'm overjoyed that you got
Yeah.
that, because that's like a top license for me. I'm just so happy that Alien is in the game. I just I'm overjoyed. I can't be any happier about it. So how would you characterize how easy it was to get that license in the face of all the naysayers who said it was never going to happen?
The negotiations were not the difficult bit. Like like once we started talking to them, it didn't take that long. And the thing is, it was us, right? We didn't want to try to do Aliens unless we were gonna be able to do a xenomorph that was gonna kick ass and feel like a xenomorph. And 5 years ago, no way in hell we could have done that. We didn't have the animation tools to do it justice. We didn't have the know-how on how can we bend our gameplay mechanics, like to what extent can we bend them, and how to be able to accommodate something like the xenomorph, right? And so it was really us putting the brakes on this one. And as soon as we felt we were ready for it, we essentially picked up the phone and called a few people around and got in touch with the right people at Disney licensing. And then we sat down and had a chat with them and said, this is what we want to do. You know DBD, right? Obviously it helps when you can say that, which we couldn't say, let's say 6 years ago. But nowadays, anybody who's in video games and whose job it is to work in the video game industry knows DBD. They may have played yes or no, but they know of it at least. And so you're saying, you know, we are building a museum of horror. Aliens is not in it yet. Can we make it happen? And they go, yeah, of course. You know, it's just a matter of finding the right numbers to put in the little boxes, and that's it.
Wow. Yeah, it wasn't until I watched like the making of that I realized, oh yeah, they had to build like this whole other level under the map for Xenomorph to traverse. It isn't like Demogorgon where he goes from one portal to another and just kind of floats underneath the map. Like it had to be a system that you could walk through, navigate, and everything, and pick your direction. I was like, wow, that was very.
I don't know if you know, but there are quite a few maps now, too, right? And it has to work on every single one of them.
Wow, I hadn't even considered that either.
And the thing is, some maps are weird. Like some maps, we took chances. We did things differently, right? And so, yeah, there's a lot of exceptions. That's sort of the rule now in DBD. Like whenever we release even just a new perk, there's so many combinations of other perks, and not just like, oh, you have 3 perks, which one could they be? But no, you're with a group of people and they're having their own perks, and the killer is a different killer with different perks, and it's just like it becomes kind of mind-boggling at some point. And
so getting Disney on the other end of the phone was never an issue.
No.
Wow.
That was not the problem. The problem is
that's really crazy.
Well, the thing is, we waited until we had something compelling to offer also, right? We wanted to make sure that we got there with a plan, and we said, this is what we want to do. We're going to make this the biggest, most awesome representation of Alien. And there's been quite a few already, right, in video game history. You can play the Xenomorph, you can play all the characters, you can play a lot of different things in Aliens so far, but never like this.
Well, it's funny because I think the community, including myself, I have to say, there's been a lot of things that have been misconstrued. Like, I, for one, would have never thought that it was more so you guys putting the brakes on. I would have been like, no, you know, it's like Disney, they're strict, you know, that's the deal. I always used to tell people, like, I'm sure if some big license comes knocking on their door, they will find a way to make it to work. Like, I always tell people that, but it's crazy. I didn't know. Now the more you know.
We've talked about it in the past too, right? The most of the I mean, that's not true. I'm glad that in this case, I'm able to talk freely about at least this part of the conversation, right? Because all these things are obviously hyper confidential. But it's true. It was us waiting to have a great plan and a compelling offer, and that's what essentially stopped well, not stop, but push this to farther ahead. Now there are other licenses, right? In that short list of licenses that are not in DBD yet. Like, everybody's got the same top 10 or almost, right? Although top 10 is tough nowadays, probably top 5. There are some in there that, like, the Jason, I mean, the game lost the license to the game, right? This one is a legal quagmire. Like, it's literally a tar pit. You don't want to put your finger in it because you're going to get sucked in. Even that would if we had a good way in, we'd probably take a shot because it's Jason, right? Jason. But so far there's been no opportunities. It's just too complicated, and every other week someone comes out of the woodwork saying no, it's actually my license, and then everything goes to hell again, and everybody goes back to court, and it's just like a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, but there are others on the list that have similar answers to why they're not in the game yet.
Wow, I mean, that knocks out like 99% of our questions, Paulie. No, Jason.
All right, well, we're done.
Okay.
See you later.
It's a wrap. See you next year.
That's really crazy to think about, though. You know,
I mean,
I really
like Jason.
Like,
I do stuff to get Jason in the game.
Oh man.
So far, no takers.
Wow. Yeah, we on the topic of Jason, you know, we were gonna ask about some things about it. We saw that they're coming out with potentially a new movie now, and I think there's a new game coming at some point. It's rumored, it's speculated. So I was like, huh, this seems like a nice way for DBD to get in, essentially. But
no,
I guess 20 some years down the future, eventually.
Maybe.
We'll see.
When we reboot Naughty Bear and we just make one.
I'm so excited for Naughty Bear.
Because
yeah,
then it's all under the parody law, right? If it's comedy and it's for fun and it's for laughs, then it's covered by the parody thing. It's like Weird Al, right? He doesn't have to ask permission. He can just do it. He does ask permission, but he doesn't have to.
Fair enough. Speaking about permission, though, I'm sure there was someone you did need to get some good permission from. Nicolas Cage. I mean,
Mr. Cage
was so crazy.
Can you
imagine
for a second just how hard it is not to tell everyone about that?
I know, and just to think, like you said yourself, these things take almost a year. We're sitting here last year talking to you. You knew. You're just sitting like, if only I could tell. And I'm sure you're sitting on something right now. If only I could tell.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Nick Cage was, I think the technical term is batshit crazy. Like, it's...
Yeah.
He's just so amazing, right? And working with him,
I mean,
it was great. Like, I didn't get to shake his hand. I was never in the same room with him, but we got so much raw talent out of him in that recording session that we did. It was just, yeah.
Oh, you're so good, man.
So is that him riffing on some of those? Was he given scripted lines? Like, what is the deal with that?
So the recording session, usually for regular characters, we have about a 3-4 hour recording session that's just exertions, like grunts and screams and screeches and panting and whatnot. In his case, we're like, we need to have word, right? We need him to talk. And so we said, okay, we'll set up a like 4-hour recording session just for him to record lines and then record like the video, the marketing video we're gonna do. Like, he needs to speak the narration in the back of it. And then we'll record the grunts and exertions with a sound alike, which, I mean, is probably the best because his voice is gonna get shot. Like, when we do the recording sessions for the grunts for a an original character which doesn't have voice lines, we go and get like metal singers, people who are used like really destroying their voice box on a daily basis. Or like Mr. Cage probably has other engagements. We don't want him to be like completely destroyed for a week after that. So, and then we told him that, and they're like, no, there's never been a Nick Cage sound alike. We're not going to start today. So you do what you have to do, and we're going to record every single sound that comes out of that character mouth, and it's going to sound like me because I'm Cage. Like, yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Cage. Of course, Mr. Cage. And so normally that would end up with 2 like 4-hour recording sessions. So we got him in the booth. He comes in, and we're sort of remote video there with in the recording studio that we rented. And he gets in, takes his jacket off, takes a sip of water. He's got his script because we sent him like a very detailed script. And within like the first 30 seconds, it was gold. Like it was all perfect.
Wow.
And then we asked him to like do these 3 lines. Okay, now improvise 1 or 2 that are in that. Like, okay, now you're being hacked by a machete, and now you're wounded and you're running away, and he's still chasing you. Like, try a few things. And all of it was just so good. Like every line in there was pure gold. Like just hearing him run away, go, "You can't kill me, I'm Nick fucking Cage." Like, yes, yes, please, more of that. And then he recorded all the grunts, all the screams, all the screeches, the exertions. We're like, okay, now you're getting put on a meat hook through the chest, and you have to scream for at least like 30 seconds. Like, this is a really long, drown out scream. It needs to be heard everywhere. And he was, I mean, he's a professional. Don't get me wrong. He is one of the greatest actors we have in our generation.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a little older. Not king, but our generation.
Yeah.
And he did all of this in like 4 hours. He knocked it out of the park. Everything was done. He's like, "Do you need anything else?" Like, "No, thank you, Mr. Cage. That's absolutely wonderful." And through all that, yeah, there were a couple of improvised bits. Like the prestige sound when you reach prestige.
Oh man.
That's Nick Cage, right? That's what you get. And the only sad bit of all this is how much amazing stuff is now left on the cutting room floor, right?
Oh wow.
Because he recorded 4 hours of
so much,
amazing lines, and we only have so much space in the game, right? We don't want this, because that's the thing, is then we started implementing it, and the question was, so should everybody hear you all the time, or should it be just you hearing yourself, right? And then, like, if 4 Nick Cages jump into the game, run around, will you just hear those voice lines all the time? It's gonna get fucking annoying immediately. Like, we can't have that. But they needed to be in there. So anyway, I think the result speaks for itself, right? It's
Come to think of it, I think last year you were asking us how we felt about hearing voices in the game, and we were like, we love it. And you were probably thinking in the back of your head, for this moment right now with Nick Cage, like, so what do you guys think about having these voices, right?
Maybe. It's possible. Because last year we only had, like, Ash Williams that says a few lines in the lobby when you pick him, and then probably like the Plague babbles a little bit incoherently, and that was it, right?
Yeah. And then all the Resident Evil
so much
Resident Evil in with all of that. That was really kicked it off. So how does Nick Cage happen? Like, is this a thing where you're like, oh, well, we could get like Red from Mandy or something, or we could get the janitor from Willy's Wonderland, and you're like, oh, well, wouldn't it be great if we could just get Nicolas Cage? Like, whose brainchild is this to think of putting a real life celebrity in the game? How does that happen?
The very first time that idea came up was, I don't know the exact date, it was probably like 4 years ago. And there's still traces of that when I reached out on Twitter to Tony Hawk. he was the first idea we had of someone we could put in the game. And I have a 4-bubble DM on Twitter that I keep preciously for my old age, which is me talking to Tony Hawk, in which he says very nicely, his name is locked to Tony Hawk Pro Skater in video game. That's it. I'm like, okay, well, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Hawk, Tony. And that was the first time, because we were like, it would be really cool because of the whole fiction that we built with the multiverses and the fact that everybody's sort of plucked from a different world and a different timeline. Two people can coexist that are from contradictory universes, right? And so we thought having someone that's real would be a great way to sort of shake things up a little bit. And Tony Hawk was a great choice because he's wholesome, right? And because he's I mean, that's the problem. Fictional characters, even horrible fictional characters like, let's say, Freddy Krueger, who is a horrible person before he becomes a nightmare demon thing. It's sort of understood, and it's a fictional character. But real people, the problem with real people is that tomorrow they might decide to get drunk, go on a rampage, and there's nothing we can do about that. And then we go, oh crap, they're in the game now. So that's why we were trying to look for people who at least have a slightly lower chance of doing that kind of thing. And so Tony Hawk is at sort of one end of the spectrum in that sense, because we kind of trust that he's wholesome. He's shown it time and time again in his little world of skate, and it's cool. And Nick Cage is sort of at the other end of the spectrum, where he's the weirdest guy out there, but he wears his weird on his sleeve, right? He doesn't hide the fact that he's Nick Cage and he's bigger than life. I mean, the movie, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which, if you haven't seen it, is an absolute masterpiece. It's so much fun to watch. Yeah. And it's exactly that, right? It plays on the fact that Nick Cage is a character that is bigger than life. The actor himself is that. And it's this crazy stories. Like, it's one of those things, it's almost like it's a case where if people tell you a really weird, unbelievable story about Nick Cage, chances are you're going to believe it without looking, because you're like, yeah, of course he did. Like, he's Nick Cage. And you only expect the unexpected from him. So that was sort of the gamble, is that the weirdest stuff he's done is already out there, and he's going to continue to be that weird guy and not turn into a different weird guy, right? Also, he's Nick Cage. He's so big.
I can't wait to see Dream Scenario.
And his perks.
Oh, golden,
that
man.
Was, again,
so good.
And our whole design team is great, but Dave specifically, I love him to death. But there's a couple of, I believe, key milestones in Dead by Daylight. To me, the first time I tested the first prototype of Michael Myers is when I saw that Dave was a fucking genius. Like, he literally made a killer who will just stand there and watch. And at first I'm like, you're an idiot, right? This breaks the whole game. It doesn't work. And then I start playing, and he's just on a little hill there, and he's watching me, and I go, what the fuck do I do now? This is the creepiest thing ever. You've done it. And he's done that kind of thing over, and I think that the perks for Nick Cage, I'm not giving him all the credit. I'm sure his team worked really hard on it, but the idea of making those perks so chaotic and so sort of unexpected was just perfect, right?
Oh yeah, I saw so many content creators out there on Twitter that were like, Dead by Daylight is so much fun again with the introduction of these perks.
100%,
crazy.
Yeah, everything about that just all tied so well. And that's kind of what I've been talking about. Like, you guys have been on a really good spree this year. I mean, we got Nick Cage coming into the game. We had the return of one of the best and, you know, everyone's memories, great events in the summer barbecue.
Yeah.
We now have Alien in the game. Like, we're getting spoiled. And I mean, there's so much things still confirmed from your anniversary stream that is yet to come, you know, which is insane.
I keep forgetting, but having Iron Maiden and Slipknot coming into the game.
Coming as well.
Insane.
Yeah, those are things. I
mean,
there's so much. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about that. Slipknot, Iron Maiden. How did that one come about? Like,
How does this happen? Who has these ideas?
I don't even remember what started this one.
it's so far in the past.
There's a couple of people that are involved in this. There's Rose, who you've seen in a couple of events. She's on the product side, so her job is to make sure that what we put out there, people want to pay for, right? That's sort of the job definition in really simple terms. Then there's Dave, obviously, who's the creative and making sure that whatever we put out there makes sense in the Dead by Daylight universe. And then there's me on one side, who's trying to make stuff happen. And then there's a guy you've never met, Stefan Cote, a German guy that's super funny. He's our head of business development, especially for Europe. And so whenever like I have a crazy idea and I go, okay, let's try to get Nick Cage, and I call Stefan Kutzer and I go, okay, so do you know a guy? Do you know everybody? That's your job, right? You're biz dev. You shake hands all day long with people and you do the wink and double gun and like find me a guy. Just do me an introduction with someone who knows someone that can help me get that. And so all of these people also shoot ideas once in a while, and then everybody chimes in and go, yeah, no, that's stupid, let's not do that. And then you get sad. There's things that I've been bringing back year after year saying we should absolutely do that, and then they go, no, first of all, you're old, nobody cares about that anymore. And then
we've aged out.
yeah, they're phasing us out slowly, but it's okay. I hear we're gonna go to a really nice place where we can run around with other old people, and it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop you guys off. All right, it's your time now, guys. Goodbye.
Actually, I went to my sister's this weekend, and she now lives on a agricultural land. It's not really a farm because they don't have like cattle, but they have beehives, and they have a blueberry orchard, and they have like
Oh wow,
chickens and things, and they grow stuff, and it's so very nice, and it's so very alien from what I live on a day-to-day basis sitting in front of my computer. But it's nice once in a while. Literally touching grass.
See, this is an old people thing. Paulie goes to the farm all the time.
Yeah, it's nice. I kind of want to move there now, especially because the internet is good now. So really,
Nothing's
it's a good place to unplug.
Yeah,
man.
Where were we?
Back a little bit more on track.
Yeah.
I don't worry. I love these conversations. So, Slipknot coming. Iron Maiden. We have.
I don't remember who brought it up first, but the idea of the Hall of Fame of horror, right?
Yeah.
And then sort of the museum opening a new wing, because the world of horror and the world of metal, especially like the lore and the iconography and the visuals, has always been hand in hand. It's always been very, very close to things. And so it wasn't a really tough sell when we started to talk to the people who were in charge of the brand for Iron Maiden specifically. And they've been in a few video games over the years. They have a mobile game that's there. And so they weren't sort of shocked, but they're like, okay, so what do you do? Oh, this is what you do. Okay. Oh, okay. What do you want to do with this? And we're like, legendary outfits. It's gonna be great. They're gonna go on our original killers, and there's gonna be quite a lot of stuff around it. And yeah, I mean, it's gonna look awesome, and it's Eddie. Like, just it was sort of a shoe-in. And
Yeah,
I'm not gonna go into the details of what's gonna be offered on these things, but they're really cool collaborations on both sides, right? Slipknot has some very interesting visuals.
Wow. That's
Eddie's
I
definitely
mean,
iconic for Iron Maiden. I'm not as familiar with
so
Slipknot,
iconic.
but people told me you need to get up to speed on this Slipknot stuff. I'm like, okay.
I mean, you don't have to, but you can check it out, and you'll see very quickly. Like, check one or two of their video clips, and you'll see that they know how to make striking visuals for sure.
Man, I am excited. I know tons of people are as well. And I mean, the excitement doesn't stop. We have a big license coming up.
There's a capital L license still to come. That's true.
Yeah, a big one coming up. And I
And
mean,
that
the way you
is-
said it, yeah, that
Gonna be
is.
so cool.
And also,
Is it the? Do I see it in your Funkos in the back there? Hard to tell. They're a bit small. I can't see all of them.
Paulie's just gonna pan over.
It might be there.
This is
I'm
as
not
close
sure.
as
There
I
it
can
is.
come.
What is this? I don't know. It's a little blurry. I can't really
It's a
make it
tiny
out.
bit blurry.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the
I'm not
glare.
sure.
The glare.
Damn it!
Huh?
I thought we had him, King.
So close.
Okay. Busy. All right.
But yeah, we have big license coming up. We have the Halloween event right around the corner. It's
Yeah.
not public yet, so we can't talk about it. We have the winter event coming up. We have a standalone Survivor coming in a mid-chapter patch. I mean, we truly are getting spoiled this year. Exciting stuff. Exciting year. Well, we know
And
one
then
thing.
and then the thing is, the annoying thing is, every time we do something like that, I'm like, okay, so now what? How do I one up this, right?
Well, how do you one up yourself? Yep. Next year, it's just all license, all year.
No, because that's the thing. At some point, you're bored with licenses. That's why we
That's
have
true.
to do some really cool original stuff that you wouldn't
There
expect.
needs to
right?
definitely be a healthy balance for sure.
And the original stuff is not all home runs. We try stuff, right? Some of it lands, some of it doesn't. I don't think it matters. We have to keep growing the story of Dead by Daylight and what those characters can be and what that universe.
For sure. All right, we're gonna flip the page a little. We're gonna carry on to our couple of final points here. Well, not final, but our, bullet points. And this one is a little bit more on some future things that might have been confirmed or might not have been confirmed.
Sure.
We're just testing the waters here. Just seeing your ideas or thoughts on some of these things, essentially. One of the first things I want to talk about, this is something we've mentioned pretty much every year, and it seems that every year we speak about it, the answer changes slightly, and that is new game modes. The first time we
Right.
spoke about it, it was a no. Then the next time it was a maybe, I don't know. Then the last time we were like, yes, but not in the way you think.
That's
Care
a
to
good
give your
answer. I think I'll
thoughts
stick to
on-
that one.
Yes, but not in the way you think. I think recently on the Ask Me Anything on Reddit, there was talks of prototyping some things, and have you seen what these
there's
things
some-
are? Is it good?
yes.
How do you feel?
Yes and yes. Yes, I've seen some of the prototypes, and yes, some of them are good. Some of them are weird. I'm not sure they'll make it, but some of them are really, really cool. And yeah, I'm. This is very slippery. Ground here. I'm not
we'll
supposed
leave it
to-
there. We'll leave it there.
But there's some really fun stuff that's happening on that side. I think you especially are the kind of people who will probably enjoy it the most, because you have so much time in DBD. You've played this game over and over again, and I believe it's gonna. I mean, we're not gonna make a new game, right? It's not gonna become all of a sudden you're playing Rocket League but with survivors. Like, that's not what's gonna happen here.
Pew.
It's just gonna put a really interesting twist on stuff that you already know. So let's leave it at that.
Oh, well,
But, yeah.
sounds exciting at the very least.
It's happening.
Looking
Yeah, I
forward to
always
that.
love the event, the new mechanics with the events,
Mhm.
and
Testing everything
even
out,
just
yeah.
to have riffs for challenges and things to do, just for something different, right? So
Yeah, I
That
mean,
is always
such good
welcome.
feedback from just having a perk randomizer in as one of the challenges, you know.
yeah,
So
that was really popular.
Yeah.
yeah,
True.
super popular. Even smashing some pumpkins for Halloween. Good stuff.
The snowman, right?
Yeah, high fiving everybody.
Silly, but it was fun.
Yeah. So these new game modes surely will be a hit. Exciting. So another thing I want to talk about. I mean, this has been something that the community has been talking about for ages, and that's new Moris coming into the game. And
Yes.
we know that Naughty Bear is coming. We spoke about it. You've said how much you've missed Naughty Bear. Naughty Bear is,
It's coming.
confirmed to come with a new Mori as well.
That is
So that's
true.
exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Looking
So
forward to Naughty Bear.
I mean, one of the big questions about adding new Moris to the game was like, what's the delivery method, right? How do you
right.
do that? Do you want to have another entry in the store, another type of thing you can buy, another thing to slot into your loadout?
hmm
Like, there's a lot of questions on how to do it well. You don't want to have things become cluttered and confusing already. Like, if you haven't played the game in a long time, or if you're a brand new player and you launch the game
It's
for
a
the
lot,
first time,
yeah.
it's a little overwhelming, right? There's a lot of screens, there's a lot of stuff happening, there's a lot of information everywhere. Fortunately, the game at its core is quite simple, and if you understand hide and seek, you're probably going to be able to play the game. But there's a lot to understand, there's a lot to learn already. So we don't want to complicate things. That being said, yes, Naughty is going to come as a legendary outfit with its own Mori. So that's a way for us to deliver Mori, I guess.
Super exciting.
Pretty awesome. I know. And
Plus,
you're
it's
finally
Naughty Bear.
getting Naughty Bear. Yeah.
It's
to
funny
come back.
because I think must have been year 1 or 2 at the most, because we were still in the old offices, which you never saw. That's before we moved.
Mm.
And I remember one of the artists said, "Oh, we should put Naughty Bear in there. I have this old model from the game. Let me just sort of replace like the Trapper's model with Naughty." We just put it in, and it was all sort of janky and it worked weird, but it was close, right? We're like, oh, we could almost. No, it's too crappy. We have to do it well if we're gonna do it. But it's always been at the back of our mind.
That's exciting. I think it's right around the corner too. I think we're almost there to get it. So
Yep.
looking forward
Soon.
to it. Soon,
Hoping I
TM.
get
The
to say
classic.
that. Yeah.
Soon, TM. Oh man. Couple more things just to brush some of your thoughts and see where your head's at on these things. Stats? Anything about stats? Do you think we'll ever see stats being incorporated into the game?
See, it would be awesome. Like we've talked about that. I mean, it was before launch. We were saying it'd be nice to have a screen, almost like in the GTA games, right? When you can see all the steps you've made, all the how many volts, how many whatever, right? It would be great. The problem is, if we were to implement that today, 5,000 hours into Dead by Daylight, you'd have a blank screen with zeros everywhere, because obviously this is not stuff that's been tracked so far. So it would be a huge bummer, mostly, and like, it feels almost like another. I don't want to talk about Legacy Prestige, but kind of like one of those, right, where you feel like you're not being recognized for what you've done, you've accomplished in the game. So doubtful.
Fair enough. Man, that put holes in my plans. I was looking forward to I've been really excited.
I'm saying
right.
Doubtful, because of that's the biggest issue, really.
Right. I've been really looking forward to these player cards that were confirmed, and Paulie forgot about them. I don't know how.
I still don't
Not to
know what
put
he's
you on
talking
the
about. I
spot.
swear it's the Mandela effect. I'm like, I have
Yeah.
no memory of what you're talking about.
The problem is that at the anniversary broadcast, we talked about so much stuff. Like, there were so many news that some of it sort of got blown by the wayside.
Oof,
Almost,
gone. Yeah.
right? Which is, it's not a bad thing because it's still coming, right? And it's still gonna be fun
Yeah.
to see it happen. But there was quite a lot of stuff. It was kind of filled.
Anniversary
Yeah.
stream is always worth a second viewing, everybody. You know.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
I have my little notepad and I just write every single line. But yeah,
Okay,
Oh, you want to go?
I got one for you, Matthew. So last year we talked about how the Halloween license that you all have encompasses the first movie, and I pressed for Dr. Sam Loomis to come to the game because now we obviously have the ability to change a character entirely, like James Sunderland, right?
Yep.
Did you do anything with that since that conversation?
Well, obviously, if it was something that was settled and on its way, I wouldn't be able to talk about it. We know that.
Fair.
Right? And if it's something that I was hoping to accomplish, then probably it would be very confidential to talk about this. I don't know where I was going with this.
It sounds like a no comment.
Is it a however comma, or is it like yeah, that's it?
Let's say that the Halloween license that we have covers that character, but the licensor is it's no, I'll leave it at that. It's
complicated.
Pass, I guess, is what I
Sounds
should
like
have.
disappointment. It tastes like disappointment to me. I don't know.
Tastes like, what's that, Zevo? What's that you're drinking?
Hey, what are you drinking?
Zevia.
I thought you drink water, Paulie. What happened?
That's when I feel like something carbonated. 0 calorie soda,
Okay.
not a sponsor.
No?
Stevia
Not
flavored.
yet.
No,
Not yet.
probably never.
Do you have a
man.
sponsor?
All right.
Many?
Not for a carbonated
Okay.
drink, no.
Yeah, no carbonated. I actually have a call later with some people that you guys have worked with, but see
You're
how
being
that
so
goes.
mysterious.
Oh, the Uno reverse. Just because I kind of have to, or else everyone in the comments are gonna start typing. I gotta ask you, even though we know the answer. Has there been conversations with the folks at Netflix, Stranger Things related, anything at all? Have you said
I
hello?
don't know
to
that we've
people
had
at
the
Netflix?
answer to that specific question. Have you had conversations with Netflix?
Yeah. We chat all the time, of course. No, I don't chat with Netflix all the time. But that is a beautiful example of something that is highly confidential. Yeah. I mean, if I had something to talk about Netflix related, no shade here at all, but probably I would be forced by my PR and communication department to go to other people than you to break the news.
Understood.
Fair enough. I think that's the last one for our speculative stuff.
Okay.
Which takes
Wasn't
us to
so bad.
it takes us to a quick news segment, which is the community asks. It's just quick little questions that, we've gathered from the community throughout the year, I might add. Paulie has been sending me this since our interview finished last year to now. He's been sending me a lot of these.
Put this in your folder, yeah.
Yeah. We could take turns on these if you would like to start out, Paulie, and just quickly hear some thoughts.
Okay, I got a couple that I gleaned from Twitter today. So, Deathslinger Tome. This is the oldest character without a tome or any challenges in the Rift. Any idea if that could be coming anytime soon?
No, I have no comments on that one. It's
Okay.
I don't know why, actually. I didn't know that little piece of trivia, and I don't know why he doesn't have a presence in the Rift.
It seems to me like along the way there was some kind of a shift. Maybe it's due to marketing where after an original character has been released, then they
It-
get the next tome, which is probably an incentive to
It's
drive sales for that chapter, I
yeah,
would imagine.
it's
Yeah.
true that we started doing that now, which means that like we used to do it sort of not randomly, but sort of it could be anybody, and now
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
like the archive
New
after a
people,
chapter
yeah.
is sort of spoken for, and so it's harder for the old guys to find
Get that love.
their
Yeah.
moment in the sun. Yeah, but it should be remedied. I think that's my personal opinion.
Fair enough. We have, this is a fun one. Has your, as you say, fearless leader Rémi ever played DBD? And if he does,
Yes.
does he main Survivor or Killer?
Yes, he has played the game. I don't think he
Hmm.
mains anything in the sense that he doesn't play regularly, right? He's probably
Right.
played once in a while over the years to check on it. He's a gamer. Like he plays games. He's also he's got kids, but they're not kids anymore. They're all grown up. But so he's like he knows this industry. He's not just a business guy that's just letting other people do.
Right.
Like he knows about games, and so he's played Dead by Daylight more than once. He knows about the game quite a lot, but no, I don't think he mains anything.
Fair.
He plays golf.
Golf video games? Or...
No, live.
golf. Yeah, okay.
It's VR golf. Pew.
Probably.
Here's one. Can you really call yourself the Horror Hall of Fame without including Jaws?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Honestly, we've talked about Jaws.
Oh, really?
Oh my.
And the question, obviously, the obvious question that comes up is, would that be jumping the shark?
The shark would be doing
Man.
would be the one doing the jumping, So.
I don't even want to think about that. Here's the next one. Will people ever be able to obtain old charms that go into Rift in the shop? So anything that's been, back in the days, will we ever see those coming to the shop at any point?
I don't think there's a plan for that. I know that the clothes, like the outfits, customization, they do come back. It takes a while. I think it's 6 months or something. But the charms themselves do not. And I'll ask you guys that. If we were to have outfits that are only available for a certain amount of time, how would you feel about that? I'm not talking extreme. Well, let's say extreme case like Fortnite, right? Where this week these are the outfits, buy them or never see them again.
Never get it.
I mean, it wouldn't bother
question,
me as
actually.
somebody who's going to be there
Yeah.
from day one, but in the future, looking down the road, when people pick up the game after the stuff is
Right.
passed, like we see that with Stranger Things now, that people like, well, only started playing after Stranger Things left, and it bums me out that I can't get this content. So similarly, if you had outfits that came out and then people joined later and couldn't get those outfits, that would be upsetting to them too. But
Does that
no.
make the outfits that you got more valuable to you? Because
There would
the-
probably be
that's
people who would
trade-off,
flex
right?
it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like
like,
Legacy. Like I flex my Legacy,
Yeah, or the Attack on Titan, right?
That too, yeah. Tricky one.
So that's the question,
Yeah.
right? And that's a question that's being discussed, of course. Like we're like limited time
Mhm.
things are not new; they've been done by other people. Like, is that a cool thing? Like, do people want to have something that can only be found in one place, and they were able to get it at that time? I mean, you get that with sort of some of the crowns that you get through the events and things like that, that you can then show off and go, "Yeah, I got that thing," right?
If the choices were limited time or not having it at all, I'm gonna choose limited time. You know, like if it's can never be in the game, or it can only be in the game but for a limited time.
If the choice
then I want
is
limited
time or forever.
Well, I think forever helps the community as a whole. You know.
Yeah.
You're not driven by the show-offness of having a thing
that doesn't mean
nobody else
anything
has.
to me.
It's
I've always
funny-
been in favor of like previous exclusives that y'all have unlocked for everybody.
Right.
And people say things like, well, there's nothing exclusive in DBD. Like you can always get it. But I'll say, oh, the charms to this point have always remained exclusive. So when people say, oh, you know, it's not true that they say the Rift contains exclusive cosmetics. They do. All the charms are exclusive. You can't get those.
That's true.
So even with the 6 months, 9 months for Rift cosmetics to go back into the shop, which there's a lot of people who are upset that they feel like there aren't enough Rift cosmetics that have gone into the shop. They're like waiting for Rift stuff to show up. They don't feel like it's going back in the shop fast enough. So
funny. 2 weeks ago, I was at a restaurant, great ramen place in Montreal called Kuyumi. And there was a guy there that came to see me. Oh my God. I was wearing my black jean jacket with the big DBD logo on the back. I think that helped because obviously he didn't recognize me. Anyway, he came to see me. He's like, oh, Dead by Daylight, work on the game, right? Yeah. The guy just wanted to say it's a great game. It doesn't happen really often, but it was really nice. And so I look at my wallet and I had one of those cards that we used to give at conventions. And I gave it to him. I'm like, probably the code doesn't work anymore, but that's a hat for Ace. Yep. The one I had was before that. It was a hat for Ace that we gave at the Taipei game show in 2017.
Oh, wow.
There's probably like 1,000 of those printed 6 years ago. The original.
Paulie's just flexing now.
I collect these like trading cards. I want to get the thing you're saying you just gave this stranger in your wallet.
I asked, and you said no.
You don't
I'm
have
so sad.
You couldn't do that.
You don't have the
said you couldn't
Taipei
give
game
us.
show.
You're like, oh, Mister, my buddy at Ramen, here you go.
You don't have the Taipei game show hat for Ace?
No, I don't have.
I don't have any.
All right. Maybe next
I think
time.
I got a double of the. Oh, I got a triple of this one, King. I can give you one of these.
Yeah, please. I have none. I
got
would gladly.
I got
take
triple.
it.
I had a
good
nice
one.
lady from Las Vegas said, "Are these good anymore?" And on Twitter, and people said, "Nah, those are worthless." Because they unlocked those for everybody. I was like, I would like the cards, please. And she just mailed them to me. And I was like, oh.
That's awesome.
When we go over to Matt's house for that barbecue and to play some D&D, I'm just gonna be in the back rummaging through, getting all the cards.
Like there's
Opening all the drawers.
There's a box down there that I keep the old cards in. There's probably a few things.
Yeah,
in there.
the whole box is gone. You'll never see it again. Oh man. Just for the sake of time, I'll cut these down to just we'll do 2 each. We could just do
we're
some
running out of time
quick
here.
ones.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're not. We got you all. Right. So someone said on the last interview, Matthew said Chucky was too funny / comedy horror to be in DBD, but let me actually expand
say
this.
a lot of things.
Bob,
go
why
on.
exclude him if the community really wants him? Same thing extends to every other licensed character. If the community really asks for someone's inclusion, then surely it's better to give what the community wants than if not is possible.
Are we slaves to the words of a horde of people? In a certain sense, I guess. Are we also supposed to trust our gut to try to keep the tension and the seriousness of the game? It's a beautiful philosophical debate that many people smarter and wiser than me have had over the last few years. And not just for DBD, right? Many other games out there have that sort of and even especially for cosmetics, like how far do you push the cosmetics? Like, is it okay to give you a rainbow wig to run around and just be silly? if you're gonna sort of break the immersion, or is the immersion something that's out the window and has been for a long time? That's my very roundabout way of not answering your question.
Fair. An ongoing debate. We'll
Yeah.
keep it as that. Paulie, do you have any from Twitter?
I got a quick
or
one here.
Anywhere?
So a lot of the other dating sim games appear on console. Hooked on You is not one of them. Any plans to change that?
Possibly, but there are complications. The Unity thing is not helping.
Gotcha.
Fair. It's fair. All right. I think this will be the last one for this piece of the segment. And I personally, I really like this question. Maybe for me, you can answer at least to one.
For you,
it says,
okay.
Yeah, just for me. It says, could you tell us some of the major inspirations for some of the OG characters in the game? So, if any comes to mind, if there is any,
Oh my
it'd be
god.
cool to know.
Like external inspiration for characters?
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, maybe the first few, let's say the first 10 survivors are easier to pinpoint. The new ones are created by such a big team of people working together, and sort of it goes through so many hands to become what it is. It's really tough to give a clear answer to that. Obviously, Dwight is based on Jean-Marc Nelly. We've answered that in the past many, many times. Whose face you can actually see in one of the oldest concept arts that we released. And then he became Dwight.
Fair. We've seen that picture with
no, actually the
Meg.
Yeah. Well, when you see the old, like, sort of swapped characters that we had, Meg and Claudette were sort of different back then. And there was Lewis also in those concept arts. You know, that's a character that came later, actually, that saw the light of day in a different shape, at least. But I'd say most of the characters, you know, the very, very first prototype of Dead by Daylight I played, which was in Unity, which was done by one person, and it was just hide and seek. The Survivor... Oh no, actually that's not true. The first one I had the Unity construction guy working around. So the second prototype that we did, which was networked and had 4 survivors, they were all identical gray guys with a t-shirt with a colored dot. And in the back it said jock, virgin, slut, and like the cliches of the world of horror, right? It was literally, that was supposed to be that, because you had the classic slasher and the classic tropes, like Cabin in the Woods, that came out around the same time too.
Yeah.
And then immediately we realized that this was one of those ideas whose time was behind us. Like, there are tropes that are fun to continue to portray, and others were like, you know what, they don't bring anything interesting to the conversation. There's stereotypes that have hurt many people through the years, and so we're gonna go away from that one. And so immediately we started trying to build survivors that were as relatable as possible, and that were never just one thing, right? And so obviously the first few had to fit in what you call the 5-man band, if you look at like narrative design and things like that. But for us, for instance, the heart was that nerdy dude, right? Dwight was he's the unlikely leader, and then the jock is Meg, right? Who is also sort of breaking a few tropes and trying to move away from the established archetypes and cliches. And so that could be that's probably the best way to describe the inspiration for at least the first few survivors. Obviously when you get to number 47, you have to find inspiration somewhere else. But the idea is, if you take all of those
Yeah.
survivors, all of the originals, and you put them on a track, right? And you just look at all of them, it just looks like a group of people that could be going to a Weird Al concert. Reason I bring up Weird Al again is because I went to
He's the
many
next
Weird
licensed
Al, no,
character.
but I went to a few Weird Al concerts in my life, and it is one of the places where you will see people from every age group, every background. Like, you see punks and metal and super nerdy classical music kind of, and all of these people are there, excited to see the same thing and looking happy one next to the other, and they're all united in that moment, right? From like people that are 12 years old to people that are 75. It's magical. So that's why like the survivors in Dead by Daylight are as varied as a Dead by Daylight concert crowd, I'd say.
I love that you went in that direction with it's just so much more rich in the lore and the character development going in that direction instead of doing the tropes.
Oh, for
and
sure.
It's also like, and that could be a whole 2-hour conversation, but just the fact that like we had a purpose, but we didn't spend a lot of time thinking about how we're going to communicate with people when we created our voice as Dead by Daylight, when we started doing those streams and talking to people, and who we chose to interact with as far as content creators and people we wanted to associate with. And today we see like a lot of marginalized groups find their safe space in the Dead by Daylight community, right? And that's something that was not a clear intention when we started, but it's something that for us rang true. And so, for instance, not tolerating jerks has always been important. Like, we don't care you bought the game, you're an asshole, you're racist, sexist, homophobe, doesn't matter. We don't want you here. Like, it's fine. Yeah, no, take your money. It's fine. Go. Just don't come back. And that's something that we've always taken quite a lot of pride in being able to foster that community and helping content creators who share those values. And that's why there's sort of there is a list of do's and don'ts for Fog Whisperers, for instance. And some had to, very, very few, but there's a couple who did stuff and we're like, you know what? It's okay. Do your thing, just not with us, right? I got serious.
Great answer. I mean,
That's okay.
I mean, it's we're all here for it.
Yeah.
I mean, great answer to the question. But yeah, I mean, I think we can segue a little. Paulie, do you want to ask that really highly classified question you have, or should we say that for the next part, or are we dropping it here?
Come on.
Talking about the teacher files. You want the teacher files in part 1 or part 2?
That's
Okay,
the one.
question. My dog was yapping at the same time.
The teacher files, whether we were going to
What
do
about the
teacher
teacher
files
files?
for part 1 or part 2. I may have a solution. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Show me what you got.
So, Sarah's teased us with this for over the years on all of her, even with the photos at home, with the unused teacher files icons on her computer, with the work from home things, and then every year with her dev message.
The answers in
So
the
I
bucket.
think I finally got it because I was looking at it all wrong. So her message this year said, what are those miscellaneous icons in our build files? Are we trying to spell something out with those files, names, and letters? 6 icons, 6 letters. Maybe there's some kind of order that could solve the puzzle. So all this time, I was only looking at 3 of these unused icons: the Trapple, the Underperform, and the Detention Power. And King and I have struggled with this. We took all of the letters from Detention, Underperform, and Trapple and tried to mix it all up and make a sentence out of it. And then when I found out that she said there were 6 icons, I looked and there were 3 other ones, which would be the gum add-on, the inhaler add-on, and a graduation cap offering. And if you take the first letter of all 6 of those things, it spells out GITGUD. So has Sarah been telling us to get good all of this time? Is that the solution for this? Wait, he's gone. Where did he go?
He's going through a tunnel. His whole house through a tunnel.
No.
He's going. Get good, Paulie. You just gotta get good, man.
I'm sorry.
I can't hear him. What's happening?
So that's all I can say about it. But thanks.
I mean, fair answer. You heard that, right, Paulie?
No, I didn't hear it. What did he say?
I'm sorry. We are
Already I've
running
said
out a
too
little on
much.
time. We are running on time, Paulie. So I think we just gotta go.
That's what I think it is get good. The credo.
Well, you certainly got good. That's for sure.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Oh,
okay.
man.
Well, that's.
But you know
As
what?
Usual,
Paulie-
as usual, I come into these with a lot of questions, and I'm hoping to get a lot of answers, and I walk away with nothing.
Well, I'll leave you with a compliment, I guess, because your speculation videos to this day remain some of the most entertaining content that I have the privilege of having access to, especially when we tease or show something and I can enjoy watching you peel back the mists and get to the nuggets of truth.
Even
And
when I'm
I
wrong.
really enjoy it, even when you're wrong.
This is still my hat from PAX,
Yep.
by the way.
It's beautiful. And you know what? The times when you're right and I can listen in and see how cleverly you found all those clues, it brings a tear to my eye, and it's wonderful.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. I mean, you couldn't have said it better myself. That's how I found you too, Paulie. I mean, I was like, this
There you go.
guy is good.
I
That's what I said.
shared
You guys
with
built my
Matthew the
career.
other day that I had a kid who reached out to me and said, I've been watching you since your Freddy speculation video when I was in the 6th grade. And he said, now I'm a senior and I'm so glad that you're still making content. And I was like, oh. And then at the same time,
That's
it made me
awesome.
feel
Easy.
old.
Yeah, that's it. Like it is, yeah, we're old,
I mean,
but happy.
Talking
and we've
about-
done some cool stuff. So
talking about this, old business DVD, it's getting old. It's 7, what is it, 7, 8? I don't even know
Yeah.
anymore. Matthew thinks it's like 10. He's living in the future still.
well, for me, because I've been working on it a little bit before we launched.
I mean, what does that mean to you, Matthew? I mean, like, how do you feel about Dead by Daylight today? That's my conclusion question to you.
I never managed to stop being proud of what we've accomplished. Like it never became dull. It's still a shining beacon of holy shit, how did we manage this, right? It's amazing. It not only it changed the company I work for, which is a company I absolutely love. It changed the company drastically and gave us ways to do things that were impossible before. It changed video games. Video game culture is different now because of Dead by Daylight, and it changed things for me in my life, obviously. So yeah. Plus, I met my wife on this, so really.
Yeah.
Congratulations
Exciting.
on that. Having known both of you, I think
Indeed.
King and I are both
So
happy for you.
happy.
We're happy.
And
Well,
in the interest of time, I won't ask this question, but you all have also been able to buy a lot of video game studios around the world now. It's opened a second location in Toronto, bought one out in Washington State, 2 in the UK, and now 1 in Denmark. Like,
Yep. Yeah.
Dead by Daylight, when you say it has
Crazy to think
changed a
about.
lot
It's
in your
changed,
organization,
Really
it's
has.
changed
It's
my
an
life and the
understatement.
life of quite a lot of people. I think that you two could potentially say it changed a few things in your lives, right?
100%.
True.
I got it
Very true.
tattooed on me now.
Yeah, for
So,
the better, hopefully.
He's a cool
Yes.
kid now.
He's got a tattoo.
yeah.
He's
Yeah,
got
I
a Dead
know.
by
Yeah, the
Daylight
Dead by
tattoo.
Daylight
Yeah,
tattoo.
it's cool, kid.
Yeah, me too. It's a subtle one, but
Oh.
I have a small little one.
One day I'll.
I don't
maybe
show
be-
it.
If my wife lets me, maybe one
Oh,
day
that
I'll
is
be a
quite
cool kid.
subtle. Yeah, mine. I showed you when I got it a while back. It's too hard to pull my. Let's see. I don't think it's possible. It's there somewhere. It's like you could barely see it. it's there. Ah, there it is. Ta-da.
Nice.
Oh, no, I think you went on mute, Matthew.
I usually do that, yes.
There.
I was saying I'll just go look at the pictures on your OnlyFans.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, but I think that does it for our first part of this. We'll do a little rapid fire at the end. So if you're watching on YouTube, stay tuned for that. That's where Matthew spills all
We
the
have to do
beans
that
and then
now, because now we're out of time. I'm getting grumpy.
Mhm.
yes, all right. So I'll do the outro later.